Good morning. Good morning. Um, I'm happy to be in the number this morning. I thank you for joining me on my journey through uh, my traumas, or from my traumas to my triumph. Um, again, um, this is what she said, my video blog um, and new website. And this will be a candid look into my journey um, through my traumas and to how I healed from them and have evolved. Um, so I'm glad that you're choosing to join me. I pray that you get something out of this. Um, I pray that you are empowered and encouraged um, by me sharing my journey, which is scary, but it's what God has called me to do in this season, and that's what I'm going to do. Um, this song that is playing, um, I'm sharing it with you because it's part of my worship. There'll be some mornings and some days that I'm going to share with you my worship. Um, this particular song um, is called God of Angel Armies, and it's by Donald Lawrence and the Tri Singers. I do not own the copyrights to this song, but again, this was just an amazing worship song, and it speaks to where I am. Who shall I fear? What shall I fear in this season if I'm being obedient to what God has told me to do? And I know and understand that when you step out on faith and you step out of your comfort zone, um, there is some fear that comes along with that. And there is some fear that comes along with this new journey that I'm embarking on. This is new, and it's opening myself up to objection and subjection, um, and probably a lot of judgment. And so it takes a lot of confidence and trust in God on my part to move forward and operate in this calling and in this new journey. And so I want to encourage you first and foremost on this morning to be comfortable and confident in what God has called you to do, because He and He alone um, called you to this place, and He desires you. And be okay with that. Um, be okay with what He desires for you in this season um, of your life. Um, this song speaks volumes, and it's very powerful um, because I'm not afraid. I know that all is well. I know that my story, my journey, um, is going to help and encourage somebody, that is going to let somebody out there know that they are not alone. And this situation, although unique in experience, is not unique. Um, that there is an art that have gone through and are going through and survived and came out okay. So know that you're going to come out okay. Um, I am a living testimony to that. Um, so I just, wanted to share a little bit of my worship with you on this morning. But I'm gonna let that go before I end up where I don't need to be on this video. um, so on this morning, I just want to share this this quote with you, um, and it's from Maya Angelou, and it simply says, "Each one of us has lived through some devastation, some loneliness, some weather superstorm, or spiritual superstorm. When we look at each other, we must say, 'I understand. I understand how you feel because I have been there myself.' We must support each other and empathize with each other because each of us is more alike than we are unalike." And that is by the late, great um, Maya Angelou. Um, Another quote from her that coincides with this is do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, you'll do better. And so I thought that, those quotes spoke to this journey that I'm on best. Um, because a lot of times people don't share because of inner shame or self imposed shame. Just, I don't know, just their inability to just be candid. They feel like, well, if I tell them this, they won't be able to receive from me or they'll look at me differently. Um, and they're more conscious of their image than they are of helping someone, and that kind of hinders their ability to serve and help because they present this image like they have it all together, and it intimidates people. It intimidates people to walk in their calling and what God has for them, or what, the things that they want to do, because they feel like, well, I'm not where she is, or I'm not where he is, and my life doesn't look like theirs. And so, how can I do this? Well, you can. And it's because your life doesn't look like theirs. It's because your journey didn't look like theirs that you are capable of doing this, because it's the uniqueness in your story, in your trials, in your triumphs that's going to help somebody. Now, you may not be for everybody, but you will be for somebody. And be confident in that. And that is a realization that I had to come to for myself. Um, in my last blog and cast podcast, I spoke about prioritizing me. And when you make the decision to prioritize yourself, um, it opens up a whole nother level for you. And with new levels, we know come new devils. So you move on and you make yourself the priority, but some people will feel like you've done that at the expense of them, um, because they are so used to you being available, and they've become so comfortable in you um, being at their service. And it's not that you can't and won't be at their service any longer. You just won't be able to do it in that capacity, and to that degree, because you have to carve out that time to sow into you. Your first ministry is to yourself and to your home and to your family, and bottom line, to you, and be okay with that. But the issue can sometimes be how we're wired, those traits, those characteristics that stem from trauma, and the things that you've defense mechanisms almost that you've put in place to protect yourself against the judgment and um, standards of others, because you may want to, or sometimes we just need to measure up, we need to fit in, we need to belong. And in order to do that, we've bent and shaped and molded and contorted ourselves to fit into these places, when the truth of the matter is we were not designed to just simply fit in. God wants you to stand up and stand out. And that's gonna come at the expense of maybe some relationships, and situationships. And you have to learn to be okay with that. You have to learn to be okay with you being the priority and what it's going to cost you to be the priority. And honestly, it's really not costing you much. It may just be God removing some things, pushing some things out of the way that really shouldn't have been there in the first place, because they're obstacles and distractions from what He has for you. So, in moving those things out of the way, it's not necessarily a loss. It's really a redirection, a refocus of your time, your energy, your focus. Is redirecting that to the appropriate place, to the place where it should have been. in the first place. But accepting that and becoming comfortable in that can be trying. Because again, we have set this standard in the world that you have got to fit this mold and you got to fit these standards. And if you don't look like or walk like or talk like or act like what the world says, and even sometimes in religion, what the church says, then you're out of line, you're out of pocket. But that's not always true, because if you are aligned with what God has ordered and ordained for you to do, you're walking in the steps that He has ordered for you, and you have gone into prayer and you have confirmed that, then you're not wrong. It's oftentimes hard for people to see you because you've already set the standard of yourself being behind the scenes. So when you start to shift and put yourself in a different position, it's hard for others to change their view of you, because we as human beings get locked into a routine. And we find it hard to sometimes adjust to new things. And that includes you being a new thing, you being a new person, your evolution. People have to adjust to that. Well, they don't necessarily have to, but they should. But as long as you're adjusting, know and understand that God is going to work it for your good. And He will bring along whoever needs to be brought along. He will give and grant understanding to those who need understanding. And those who don't, that's between them and the Lord. Um, I'm at a place now where I feel like if you don't understand where I'm going and what I'm doing, then take it to God. If you don't, or if you're unwilling to see the growth and evolution in me, then you might need to go take a look at yourself and not focus so much on me, because maybe that's something that you need to adjust for you. That ain't my business. My focus in this season is me, because I'm the priority. And as such, um, I'm gonna adjust me and my posture and make sure that I'm walking in love and make sure that I'm not operating from a place outside of the will of God. And that's where I have to focus on. But the reality of it is, people are human, and our humanness will sometimes get in the way. Um, and we will slip backwards into um, familiar behavior and begin to operate in fear, and fear of operating at our highest self, because we don't know if we'll be accepted, and that fear of rejection, and that fear of judgment. But it's going to come. And that's just the truth of the matter. They judge you now. They judge you for not operating in your calling. They judge you because you don't walk the way they think you should walk. They judge you because you don't make decisions the way that they feel you should make decisions. So if they're judging you anyway, you might as well just go ahead and walk it out and launch that vision and let them judge you while you're doing the good that God has ordered you to do. If I'm gonna be judged, I'm gonna be judged for being obedient to God. I'm not gonna be continue to be judged just because you want to judge me. Now go ahead, because now I'm doing something that maybe that I guess you feel like I should be judged for. I don't know. I can't in this season allow myself to get wrapped up in um how people feel about me and my evolution. I just can't, because the weight of other people's emotions um is bondage. And I made the decision that in this season I want to be free. And that includes from the bondage of other people's minds and mouths. Because yes, putting your mouth on me is can be a form of bondage if I choose to receive it. So in this season, I don't receive it. I'm not receiving or accepting that. So I'm just going, okay. You have that ability. Understand that you have the ability to say when somebody is speaking something to you that you just don't, I don't receive it. I'm sorry if that's the way you feel. If that's the way you took that, then I apologize. If I made it for any offense that my being has caused you, because my goal is never to hurt anybody. Okay, what else can I do? I have to still continue to live for me. I can't adjust myself to a point to where I'm operating and living for you and the standards that you set for me or the way you feel I should operate. No, that no longer works because I'm not in that place where I desire or require your validation. The only validation that I desire and require is from God. And as long as He um, is confirming for me daily, because Lord knows He is confirming for me daily, that He is pleased with my effort and my evolution, then I have to learn to be okay with that. And I'm learning. Um, Nobody is perfect. Change does not happen overnight. It's a process. It's like being saved and delivered. I've heard so many arguments about this, but this is my take on it. When you come to God, you give Him your life. Okay, I accept you. I believe you for all your promises. You ask for forgiveness. That's salvation. But deliverance is a whole other journey. Your deliverance is your healing from the things that cause you to sin. And we sin daily. There are some people that are not honest with themselves about that, but we sin daily and should be asking for forgiveness daily. That's what God wants from us. Acknowledge your wrongs, acknowledge, your needs, and then let's move forward and operate in a new place. When you get to that place to where you know and understand you and you're okay and honest with yourself about you and where you're going and what God requires of you, you will be so much better for it. And that is where you're on the road to being delivered. And your deliverance is in process. Deliverance is to me is a lifelong thing. You have to work at it every day because we were born into sin. We can't just focus on the big sins and not focus on the small sins. We got to focus on all the sin. Sin is sin. And so deliverance is a process. And so because that process it involves your healing, healing is a process. Becoming your best self is a process. You will evolve daily. You will evolve quarterly. You will evolve annually. Every day is a new level and a new opportunity for you to, grow. You don't stop growing. Flowers bloom in the spring because they're nurtured throughout the season. Once you plant the seed, that seed requires tending to. So we've planted the seed of healing. Now we have to tend to that seed. You've planted the seed of your vision. Now you have to tend to that seed. And you're tending to your own garden. You really don't have a lot of time to weed and tend to the next person's garden. They're going to have to take some responsibility for themselves and tend to their own garden and let you. Anybody that truly loves you, anybody that truly values you, when you make yourself the priority and now you're now operating in making you the priority in everything, um all the things that you've put to the side and you're now starting to walk in that, and you're stepping out on faith. Anybody that loves and values you and was truly there for you will know and understand. They will not walk in offense because you are evolving, because you didn't walk in offense while they were evolving. You stood by them, you helped them, you promoted them, you supported them, you were of service to them. And so a person who is truly your friend, truly a part of your foundation and the in your team and divine connections that God has made, those people are going to know and understand your situation. They're going to know and understand your season, and they're going to be there. And those that don't, well, guess what? That speaks volumes to their character. And we don't hold grudges against them. We love them anyway. We pray for them and we keep it moving. Because in this season, God is saying to move. He wants to see movement. He wants to see action. He is not with us sitting on our hands. As I said in my first video, 2020 for me was God's way of removing all the distractions so I could see me, so I could get to the root of me. And in that process, I'm learning who I am, who I was always meant to be. And no, I am not what a lot of people have spoken and said about me, but I am who my Father says that I am. I am who I know to be. I know who God told me I am. And that is the only thing I'm willing to accept in this season. So I encourage you to be okay with that. Um, that you are all the things that God is telling you. That small, still voice, that nag in your heart, accept it and be okay with it. And learn to be okay with losing people, places, and things, situationships, relationships, friendships. Be okay with that. Because if he's moving it out of the way, it was a distraction. It was in the way of what he is requiring of you. And we all know God is a jealous God. He is really not with sharing our attention. So that's just not going to make him happy anyway. So if he's moving it out of the way, then it needs to go. It needs to go to make room for you to grow, and be and go ahead and walk in that, because it's for the betterment of you. And anything that God gives us and he does is also for the betterment of the kingdom. So there's a greater goal, um, at stake, and something bigger than you and I taking place. Um, so, that's that. I know it's easier said than done because we form these attachments to things and people and places. Um, and it's hard to often let go and change habits. That saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, you can. You just have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to go with it. And you got to want to. You have to want to be better than your yesterdays. And you should be tired of being at the bottom of the totem pole. You should want to rise to the occasion, in this season, and not feel selfish. Because again, those that are truly meant to be on your journey, that love you, support you, um, they won't find it robbery that you are evolving. They will be grateful and supportive of your evolution. Um, Now, beware of those that definitely, you know, smile in your face and, encourage you, but are not encouraging you. And they come under the guise of, oh, iron sharpens iron. I've heard that saying many times. But I've also heard and saw it used to really demean and belittle people. That ain't iron sharpening. If everything that comes out of your mouth towards me is negative, that ain't iron sharpening. And when I try to come back and tell you about you, you don't want to receive it. Nah, I don't receive that. That ain't iron sharpening. Twisting and using that thing to try to demean me and break my spirit. Now I want that. I want that. You can keep that. I don't need that kind of love. I'm all right. But there are people who will do that because they don't want to look bad. So, they need to have that. Oh, she just didn't want to accept what I had to say. It ain't that I didn't want to accept what you had to say. I know me. And yes, I know my wrongs. But if that's all you have to say about me, yeah, we good. And I'm okay. Um, but that comes with time. That comes with, really healing and getting to know yourself, because then people can't hit those vulnerable spots because they're not vulnerable for you anymore. Because that means that you pull that thing out from the root and you are free from it. Um, and I'm not going to let you hold me hostage, and I'm not going to hold myself hostage. We were all somebody before we were all somebody before we became who we are today. You're not going to hold me back there, even if it was 3 days ago. I could have said something, did something 3 days ago. God could have convicted me in my spirit. I done confessed it. I done, repented for it and moved on. And working my way to never doing that again. I'm not gonna let you keep me there though, because if that's no, it's a no for me. It's a no. And you have people that do that. Okay, God will convict you when you know you're wrong and something came out of your mouth that you know that you weren't supposed to say, or you did something that you know that you weren't supposed to do. God will convict you right then and there. I don't know about you, but I know He does that for me. Um, a lot of times when I do and say things because I am, I'm working on it, but I could be real petty. Um, and I say things out of just being mean, and that's just being honest. I get frustrated. And one of my worst triggers and traits that I carry over from childhood trauma is having emotional reactions to things. When you say something, when you say something to me that I don't like, or a trigger word from my childhood that I don't like, that thing in me goes click, and you done turn the lights on. And I will respond in such a horrible way. Um, and I've responded in such a horrible way, but God always convicts me. And I've made a conscious effort in this season to be better for that. I've repented. I asked God to take it away from me and deliver me from that thing, because it's not always good, because it can be hurtful to people who really care about you, because now I'm on the defense from everybody. Like, you just can't say nothing to me. And I had gotten to that place where you just can't say nothing to me, because everybody was, people around me were just coming down on me from every different angle, and it was always, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I can't always be wrong. Like, I can't always be wrong. You can't keep telling me that I'm wrong for everything that I feel, everything that I say, and then expect me to be okay with that when everything that's coming out of your mouth is telling me that I'm wrong. No. And so I became overly defensive, like, yo, now just shut it down. Like, you leave me alone, you leave me alone. I would block you. I would just, that wasn't no good. And that wasn't a good way to be. And it was emotionally constricting for me, because then I would just shut down emotionally and shut everybody out. And that wasn't good, because it started affecting the good people in my life, because now I don't want to receive nothing from nobody. Y'all can all leave me alone. And that was my attitude, because I was so, from childhood, I had an ability to really detach myself. I could be in a room full of people, and if you said something that I didn't like, or I felt uncomfortable in any way, I could literally check out. I would be sitting there and be a million miles away. Um, and I carried that with me into adulthood and have been able to do it and have mastered it. You would fully think that I was engaged, and child, I'll be in Bermuda somewhere in my head. And I had to overcome that, um, and learn to take from every situation the best part of myself. Now, if you're telling me something and I know I'm wrong, God is always going to convict me, and I'm going to be receptive to what you're saying, because God has already made it clear to me you shouldn't have did it in the first place. Um, and I'm going to be receptive to that. But if you just keep, and everything that comes out of your mouth is something negative, and you're even to the point of telling me that my emotions are wrong, yeah, no, because I'm entitled to those. How you're entitled to feel, how you entitled to feel, but my emotions make me sure. How that work? Where they do that at? Like, you can have a response and your response is okay, but because my response don't look like your response, or my emotions don't look like your emotions, then I'm wrong, I'm immature. Yeah, no, I'm gonna need for you to turn that mirror around and look at yourself. If I feel like you've done something to me to hurt my feelings, and the first thing that comes to your mind and out of your mouth is to demean me and invalidate my feelings, yeah, no. But I'm supposed to validate your feelings, right? Yeah, no, that's not going to work either. And it doesn't work. And so you have to be able to decipher between those people, because the right people will tell you, okay, your feelings are valid, but you can't live there. Period. I understand how you feel and how you may feel like that. And I apologize if I made you feel like that. But, and then let me rephrase that, because then the but always negates what comes before it. And I understand how you feel like that, but let me explain to you where I'm coming from and how I feel. And then I, in return, will be receptive to how you feel, and we come to an understanding. But to just take a stance of, I don't receive nothing that you're saying. Nope. You are wrong, 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 wrong. And I am right, 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 right. That's a lie because my feelings didn't just come out of nowhere. I'm not just overreacting. Something had to trigger the response. Something had to happen. So, and the right people will be knowledgeable about that because just like God convicted you in the moment of you doing wrong, He also convicted them. But people have to be willing to accept the conviction and be honest about it. And a lot of times they're not. Um, so, as you move forward in this season of making you the priority and stepping out, on faith, just know and understand that God's got you. He brought you to it. He's going to bring you through it. He's going to give you all the tools that you need to accomplish what it is He set before you to accomplish. You just have to stay the course and stay faithful to the course and stay faithful to Him and be true to you. Understand, and I will probably say this a lot because I encourage myself daily with it. Understand that there's beauty in your brokenness. It's not, it should never be used as a weapon against you. It should never be, your brokenness and your flaws should never be used against you. And if they are, then you know that you're in the wrong company. Um, be okay with being um, a little bit damaged and broken. Just know and accept that you won't stay that way. You're gonna heal as long as you want to heal. Um, there's a quote, I love this quote, and I'll probably say that a lot too. You might get tired of it, that I've seen on Facebook, and it said, broken crayons still color. So even though I have flaws and I'm a little broken, I can still bring something to the table and serve the people. I can still operate in what God has for me and launch my visions. Um, and and I can still color and I can still bring some light and some joy um, to the world, and I can still encourage and empower somebody because I've survived and come out on the other side of my traumas. And that is what I wanted to share with you today. Um, my I'm going to leave you with the same quote I left you with on the last video. The sun rises alone every day, but she still shines. And I'll add to that, the moon rises alone every night, but still lights the way in the dark. And you can and you will too. I love you. I believe in you. You are worthy. You are capable. And God loves you too. Have a blessed day. Thank you for joining me.